Are you ready to hear about a desperate medical experiment that changed everything? In 2021, at a small hospital in Mexico, doctors faced an impossible choice when their oxygen supply ran critically low during the height of the pandemic. Watch their patients suffocate or attempt something so desperate it had never been tried before in modern medicine. With lives hanging in the balance and no help in sight, these medical professionals turned to an unlikely source of carbonation that you probably have in your refrigerator right now, Coca-Cola. What happened next would not only save dozens of lives, but would also force medical experts to reconsider everything they thought they knew about emergency medicine. And, by the end of this video, you'll learn how this desperate experiment led to a groundbreaking discovery that's now changing emergency protocols in hospitals around the world. The air hung heavy, thick with the fear that only a pandemic can bring. The hallways were crowded, filled with worried patients and their families, their faces etched with anxiety and uncertainty. The once bustling hospital now felt like a war zone, with every corner echoing the silent cries of desperation. It was 2021, and the small hospital in Chiapas, Mexico, was overrun. The entrance, usually a place of calm, was now a chaotic scene of ambulances and frantic healthcare workers. Inside, the situation was even more dire, with every available space converted into makeshift wards to accommodate the influx of patients. COVID-19 raged, an invisible enemy suffocating the life out of its victims. The hospital's COVID ward was a grim testament to the virus's relentless assault. Patients lay on ventilators, their chests rising and falling with laboured breaths, while healthcare workers moved swiftly, their eyes betraying the exhaustion behind their masks. Each gasping breath, a desperate plea for oxygen, a resource that was dwindling fast. The sound of patients struggling to breathe was a constant reminder of the hospital's dire situation. Oxygen masks and support systems were in high demand, but the supply was running dangerously low. The hospital's oxygen supply was dangerously low, the pipelines running dry. Empty oxygen tanks lined the hallways, a stark symbol of the crisis. The supply room, once filled with life-saving equipment, now stood empty, its shelves bare. The staff knew that without oxygen, their patients' chances of survival were slim. Doctors and nurses, their faces etched with fatigue and despair, knew what that meant. They had been fighting this battle for months, and the toll it had taken was evident in their weary expressions. Each day brought new challenges, and the weight of their responsibility was almost unbearable. They had seen it too many times in the past year, the Grim Reaper lurking closer with each passing moment. The medical staff, despite their best efforts, often felt powerless against the relentless tide of the virus. Patient charts told stories of lives hanging by a thread, and the grim reality was that not everyone would make it. Hope, it seemed, was slipping away with each fading breath. The hospital, once a beacon of healing, now felt like a place of last resort. Somber healthcare workers did their best to comfort patients, but the sense of hopelessness was palpable. Every fading breath was a reminder of the fragility of life and the devastating impact of the pandemic. Dr. Emilio Guevara, the hospital's head physician, felt the weight of 1,000 lives on his shoulders. The hospital was bustling with activity, yet heavy silence loomed over the critical care unit. Every decision he made could mean the difference between life and death for his patients. His heart pounded in his chest, a frantic rhythm mirroring the beeping of the heart monitors around him. Each beep was a reminder of the urgency of the situation, a ticking clock counting down the moments they had left. The oxygen supply was almost gone. The gauge on the tank showed a dangerously low level, and the backup supplies had already been exhausted. The hospital was running on fumes, and time was slipping away. Without it, his patients, mothers, fathers, children, would die. The faces of the patients and their families flashed before his eyes, each one a story, a life hanging in the balance. The thought of losing even one of them was unbearable. The only other hospital with oxygen was miles away, a lifetime in this critical situation. The roads were treacherous, and the journey would take hours they simply did not have. The distance seemed insurmountable, a cruel barrier between life and death. A desperate plan began to form in Dr. Guevara's mind, a risky gamble born out of desperation. He knew the odds were against them, but he also knew that doing nothing was not an option. The plan was fraught with danger, but it was a risk he was willing to take. It was unorthodox, unheard of, and potentially dangerous. He gathered his team, explaining the situation and the plan. The room was filled with tension, but also a glimmer of hope. They knew the risks, but they also knew the stakes. But it was their only chance. Dr. Guevara looked at his team, seeing the determination in their eyes. They were ready to fight, to do whatever it took to save their patients. With a deep breath, he gave the order to proceed, knowing that this daring decision could change everything. Word spread quickly through the hospital grapevine, Coca-Cola. The very mention of the sugary beverage seemed ludicrous in this life-or-death scenario, yet here it was, their last hope. Dr. Guevara had remembered an old medical journal article, a forgotten study about the effects of carbon dioxide on the lungs. Coca-Cola, with its high concentration of carbon dioxide, could potentially stimulate the respiratory system, buying them precious time. It was a long shot, a desperate gamble, but they were running out of options. The air in the hospital crackled with a nervous energy as nurses and doctors, their faces masks of apprehension, carefully administered the Coca-Cola to the sickest patients. Each sip, a prayer whispered into the darkness. Minutes stretched into an eternity as they watched, waited, and prayed for a miracle. Slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, a glimmer of hope emerged. The patient's breathing, ragged and shallow just moments ago, seemed to ease. Colour returned to their ashen faces. The Coca-Cola, against all odds, was working. News of the miraculous recovery in Chiapas spread like wildfire, making headlines around the world. Medical experts were baffled, struggling to explain how a simple soft drink could achieve what modern medicine couldn't. The incident sparked a flurry of research, with scientists eager to unravel the mystery behind Coca-Cola's unexpected, life-saving properties. The medical community, initially skeptical, watched with cautious optimism. Could this be a fluke, a one-time event, or was there a scientific basis for this seemingly miraculous recovery? The race was on to find answers. As researchers delved deeper into the incident, a clearer picture began to emerge. The initial chaos and confusion began to give way to a more structured understanding of what had transpired. Scientists from various disciplines came together, pooling their knowledge and expertise to unravel the mystery. They meticulously analysed every piece of data, every variable, and every possible outcome. Their goal was not just to understand what had happened, but to find a way to prevent such incidents in the future. The high concentration of carbon dioxide in Coca-Cola, they discovered, acted as a respiratory stimulant, jump-starting the lungs and improving oxygen intake. This was a surprising revelation, as it highlighted an unconventional method of aiding respiratory function. The bubbles in the carbonated drink, which are often taken for granted, played a crucial role in this process. The researchers delved deeper into the chemical interactions, understanding how the carbon dioxide interacted with the body's respiratory system. This newfound knowledge opened up potential avenues for emergency treatments, especially in situations where traditional medical supplies were scarce. The sugar in the drink provided a much-needed energy boost, helping the body fight the virus. This was another unexpected benefit. The simple act of consuming a sugary drink had a profound impact on the body's ability to combat the virus. The sugar acted as a quick source of energy, fueling the body's immune response. This discovery was particularly important in the context of the Chiapas incident, where immediate and accessible solutions were desperately needed. The researchers noted that while sugar alone was not a cure, it played a supportive role in the overall treatment strategy. It wasn't a cure, the scientists cautioned, but a temporary measure, a bridge over troubled waters until the oxygen supply could be replenished. The scientists emphasized the importance of understanding the limitations of this discovery. While the Coca-Cola and sugar combination provided immediate relief, it was not a long-term solution. It was a stopgap measure, designed to buy time until more conventional medical treatments could be administered. The researchers stressed the need for continued innovation and exploration of alternative emergency treatments, especially in resource-limited settings. The Chiapas incident had inadvertently revealed a previously unknown facet of emergency medicine, a potential lifeline in the face of dire circumstances. This incident underscored the importance of thinking outside the box and being open to unconventional solutions. The researchers' findings were a testament to human ingenuity and the relentless pursuit of knowledge. They highlighted the need for preparedness and adaptability in the face of unexpected challenges. The lessons learned from Chiapas would go on to inform future emergency response strategies, potentially saving countless lives in the process. The impact of the Chiapas incident reverberated throughout the medical world. Emergency medicine protocols were revised, with hospitals around the globe adding Coca-Cola to their emergency kits. Training programs were updated to include this unconventional life-saving technique. The incident served as a stark reminder of the importance of resourcefulness and quick thinking in the face of adversity. It highlighted the need for adaptable medical protocols, capable of evolving with the ever-changing landscape of medical emergencies. The story of the small Mexican hospital that used Coca-Cola to save lives became a symbol of hope and ingenuity in the face of overwhelming odds. It demonstrated the power of innovation, even in the direst of circumstances. The incident sparked a global conversation about healthcare infrastructure, particularly in developing countries. It underscored the need for adequate medical resources and the importance of investing in healthcare systems capable of handling unforeseen crises. The Chiapas incident marked a turning point in emergency medicine. It challenged conventional wisdom, pushing the boundaries of medical knowledge. It underscored the need for continued research, for exploring every avenue, no matter how unconventional, in the quest to save lives. As we move forward, the lessons learned from this extraordinary event will continue to shape the future of emergency medicine, reminding us that, even in the darkest of times, hope, innovation, and a little bit of fizz can make all the difference.